What's up, guys? Welcome to a prequel of 31 Days of Horror, featuring two prequels of The Exorcist. I am Morgan Film Fan. Let's jump into some scares. Alright, so it's double feature time. Exorcist, Dominion to the Exorcist and Exorcist the Beginning were two films that were basically released almost at the same time, produced at the same time, definitely. One coming out a year before the other. And it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, because I remember watching Exorcist the Beginning in theaters, and I remember hating it. That was 2004. I would have been 15 years old, and I've never heard of Dominion prequel to The Exorcist until like a year ago, literally. But apparently, Dominion prequel to The Exorcist was complete and ready to be released, and the producers decided to scrap it and hire another director to redo the whole screenplay. And because they didn't have any faith in Dominion, and so they released this newly revamped Exorcist the Beginning, and it ended up being shit and not doing well at all. So they're like, okay, screw it, we're just going to release the original one we had already. So both came out, which is the same story and the same plot, just directed by two different directors. And usually when one director gets fired and another one comes in, they just release one film. I've never seen the same script be done by two different directors and both films be released before. I've never seen that in my life. So I thought, hey, this is the perfect prequel that I could possibly do to a 31 Days of Horror involving two prequels as a double feature. Let's do it. So, starting with Exorcist the Beginning, which is the one I saw in theaters, and I remember it sucking shit. I really did not like watching this in the theaters. Like I said, the plot is the same for both. So you get this priest. He's lost his faith. He's lost his faith because it takes place in the 40s. This one takes place in 1949. And a few years prior, during the war, the priest was basically put in a situation where a bunch of German soldiers gave him an ultimatum to choose a bunch of people to be sacrificed and shot. And one of them was a little girl. And seeing this little girl and all these people massacred in front of him just took his faith away. He became an archaeologist, and he's sent to Kenya in Africa, where they're digging up this Christian church in a very strange location, where a Christian church that's like 1,500 years old or so, or however old it is way before the time where Christians ever showed up to this location. But he's sent there to find an object in this church and bring it back to another priest or something. So they're digging up this church, and a bunch of evil things and unexplainable things are happening in this area. There's a situation where there's these two kids hanging out in some cavern, and a bunch of hyenas just rips one of them apart while the other one just stands there and watches. It's really crazy. And then it's also revealed that this whole area was basically damned for the last 1,500 years, where there was a huge battle that went on in this land, and this Western army was led by two priests, and the whole army ended up basically turning against each other, and having this huge bloodbath of murder. And there's actually the opening scene of the film is like the the post of that battle where the whole field is like upside down crucifixes with people pinned to them. It's ridiculous. But overall, the Exorcist at the beginning is quite a mess. I mean, it's weirdly paced. It's oddly directed. It feels like Rennie Harlin, the director, was just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. I liked this better than when I watched it in theaters. But it's still a mess. I really did not enjoy this one. But moving on to Dominion, which, like I said, is the same plot, different script, obviously, but a lot of the same actors. Father Merrin is the same actor. There is a character named Chuma, who's played by the same guy, and the doctor in this one is named Rachel, not Sarah. She's a different actress. But like I said, I like this one better. Some things are changed, but they're minor. This one opens up with the actual event that happened in 1944 in Holland, where the priest had to basically pick 10 people to be sacrificed. There's no little girl involved, though. This time it's a woman that gets shot instead of a little girl. This one takes place in 1947 instead of 1949. There's less characters in this one. Two characters, actually, that died in Exorcist the Beginning end up not dying here, which I actually like better. Pazuzu, or Satan, looks way better in this one. In Exorcist the Beginning, was more of an entity that possessed Sarah at the end of the film, and she basically looks like she did in the original Exorcist with the cut face and all that, and swearing and talking about sex all the time. This one, the director Paul Schrader really focused on Pazuzu a lot more and making him creepy looking. It's actually played by a woman. And instead of a little boy named Joseph, there's actually this teenager, you could say, named Cheche. And again, the whole village is afraid of him. But the way the direction is on him, and the way the director made him, his possession kind of, the way it was executed is just way better than Exorcist the Beginning. Both films have this really disgusting scene, actually, which involves a birth, and this stillborn is born, and it's just completely covered in maggots. It's really disgusting. Exorcist the Beginning actually shows it a lot more graphically because you can actually see it coming out, whereas Dominion just shows the stillborn baby just all like slimy and covered in maggots and stuff. But it's really gross. But yeah, I have to say, in both films the CGI is pretty terrible. The CGI is horrible, especially with the hyenas. They just look ridiculous. There's some cool scenes though, involving, like, there's one incident where a bunch of cattle and livestock are eating the hyenas, which is funny because, you know, usually it's the hyenas eating the cattle, but in this case, because of the demon's power, the cattle is eating the hyenas. It's pretty interesting. So clearly my preference is Dominion. If you're going to watch either of them, I would certainly go with Dominion. They make a great double feature. But yeah, my preference, hands down, is on Dominion. I can't believe I hadn't heard of this one at all until like a year ago. But I think I would give Dominion 74 out of 100, and I would give Exorcist the Beginning 29 out of 100. Why out of 100? Because I hate decimals. We all know this. So that's going to be my prequel with a double feature of prequels to 31 Days of Horror. And yeah, I am excited to tackle this month. I've got a huge pile of stuff. So until next time, cheers.